Hi, this is Miles McGuire from the Oshkosh Examiner. Thanks for joining us as we try to get to know the candidates who are running in the spring election. Today we have with us Mayor Lori Palmeri, who is running for a second term. Thanks, Mayor Palmeri, for being with us. And let me just start off with a basic question. Can you tell us about yourself? Why are you running and what are your qualifications for this job?
Yes, thank you, Miles, and thanks to the Examiner for giving us this opportunity. So I am Mayor Lori Palmeri. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I've served on council for 5 years now, 1 year as deputy mayor and mayor since 2019. I currently serve as the chair of the Oshkosh Redevelopment Authority, the council liaison for diversity, equity, inclusion, and the Parks Advisory Board. I also serve on the East Central Wisconsin Regional Plan Commission as a full commissioner and the Regional Comprehensive Planning Committee. I have served on over a dozen boards and commissions, both for the city and nonprofit local boards. I want to continue to be your voice at City Hall. I am responsible, I am reliable, and I am results focused. I'm running for reelection because the change that we initiated requires more work on the issues such as fairness on fees and taxes and our budget. The work that we started for welcoming diverse representation and equity measures continues and may not be valued the same way by my challengers. We must continue to focus on public health, safety, and welfare as our strategic plan guides us. You know, when you're in local government, someone said, you are on the ground looking into the eyes. I'm looking into your eyes and hearts of the people that you serve.
Okay. As you know, Oshkosh has both a mayor and a city manager. And I'm wondering how you think that arrangement is working and if there are ways that it could be improved, the relationship there.
Yes, and that's a really valid question right now. I know that there are some conversations in the community going on. So how is the city manager council, it's called the Chapter 64 in Wisconsin form of government working for us? We certainly can improve that relationship. I believe that the last few years have shown that Oshkosh could benefit from having some full-time representation as an at-large part-time council representing 67,000 people. It's somewhat of a disservice to our community. Perhaps adding some part-time district representatives might be worth exploring. We are a growing city in many ways. This form of government, it reinforces representation by privilege. And while it is an honor and a privilege to serve, there are often times that additional research at the county, state, and national level require a significant amount of time. Our city manager is full-time and handles the administrative kind of managerial components of our policy that we put in place. He's also responsible for the staff and guards their time at the best interest of the taxpayers. You know, council determines the budget and the tax rate on the recommendation of the city manager and staff, but we certainly could improve council responsibilities by looking at things like priority-based budgeting.
Okay. When I talk to readers, and I'm sure when you are talking to residents, one of the things that we hear are costs. They're a common complaint. And people talk about taxes and fees. What would be your approach to address this concern?
Cost, fees, taxes. It's the number one thing that comes up every election cycle and every budget cycle. I cannot promise, I will promise that I won't promise to cut taxes because that's a typical campaign promise, right? The fees come in and the costs are ever increasing due to a loss of like state shared revenues to continue to provide our quality services. But number one, we should finalize a study that was started a couple of years ago, and we've gone through a couple of rounds of this on examining the option of replacing our special assessments. That would go a long way towards making living here in Oshkosh more affordable. We should also take another round review of our TIF policy. We did revise it a few years ago, but I think it needs examining once again. And we should require more public benefit in exchange for those incentives, such as housing developments and set asides for workforce, low income and very low income affordable units. Many times that IRR, that internal rate of return, is the determination of what they call the but for. Would we do this development but for the assistance? But certainly we need to make sure that we're getting some of that public benefit in return. Two more things, water lifeline and conservation rates. Currently, it's an inverse of conservation in that we have 4 tiers of charges for water usage. The more you use, the less you pay. And I really believe that we need to look at reversing that to make water more affordable and to sustain our water going into future generations' usage. Fourth, continuing the work with city manager on his work with the state on increasing reimbursement for our municipal services that are paid on behalf of the university and the prison, just for an example.
Okay. And now, what steps do you think the city can take to improve the economy? And I'm talking here both about helping local businesses and helping workers.
Absolutely. The number one thing that we can do to help the local economy is encourage vaccination to get us into full recovery mode, building that resilience that we need. We do have resilience built into our strategic plan, and that is, what is our response and recovery time based on these unexpected events, such as a pandemic, or there can be natural disasters. We certainly have to support our local health department that is at the county level in all things public health. That is the number one thing in our strategic plan, is the public health, welfare, and safety of our public. Number two, create a hot list of small businesses that we need in the community, and seed grant partnerships, things like childcare centers. We're going to be looking at one this week, but we need more childcare for folks to feel comfortable getting back to work and their businesses. Another thing is, we need to look at not always going with the absolute lowest bid, to help our local small businesses and those owners grow their business. And then we also need to build what's called an entrepreneurial ecosphere, and build those networks and distribution channels, and encourage women and veteran and minority owned businesses. They are the backbone of our local and our national economy. And then finally, something really basic, like, see this space here. All of us have learned over the last year that, we have to adapt our home spaces. The city can look at modifying those home-based business ordinances and accessory dwelling unit ordinances to supplement these spaces and how we use them.
Okay, great. And if the voters do put you back in office for another term, can you tell us what your top priorities for the city will be?
So my top priorities are, number one, strengthen our resilience for neighborhoods and businesses through this pandemic and post-pandemic impact. Number two, continuing to make appointments and elect people with diverse backgrounds and building our representative local government. Number three, we have to stay the course and commit to equity measures regarding land use and the allocations. And number four, holding ourselves and local government accountable. We need to continue to do that with smart goals and adaptable, sustainable investments that build that resiliency and the ability to recover from these unexpected events.
Okay.
I
Well,
want to be your voice at City Hall. So re-elect me, vote on February 16th in the primary and April 6th in the spring election.
all right. Well, thank you, Lori. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us, and I appreciate your answers.
Thank you.